Sebastian, nice to meet you in person.
How you doing? Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Hi.
New Zealand.
Nice.
So what's the appeal of bringing up MacGyver into the 21st century while you have all the technology that can do stuff for you instead of tinkering and...
That's the beauty of doing the show, is that we, most shows or most, sort of problems are solved with technology. How do we get to go back and be creative? How do we get to use our brains without relying on technology? I think that's one of the things that made that hero special. And I think when you look at the TV landscape, to have somebody who's creative and smart, who uses his brains to solve problems, that's interesting and refreshing, I think. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why it belongs on TV today. I think we're too comfortable in our sort of like reliance on technology. So that was one of the things that is an ingredient that's very appealing to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with Peter there. I think, I think that, using technology to kind of solve issues is too easy these days. But that's what I love about the MacGyver character is I love putting him in these situations where he literally has to use his environment to survive it. It's almost like old school Jackie Chan. When you watch Jackie Chan fight, he uses his surrounding. He used his table. He used a chair. He used a ladder. And so I think MacGyver is that guy. And in a world that is so reliant on technology, it's kind of a breath of fresh air to go back to the old school action hero. He's like, I keep quoting Indiana Jones. He's a lot like Harrison Ford in a lot of ways from Indiana Jones. Yeah.
One of the running gags of the classic show was we didn't know his name. It was MacGyver, not Angus MacGyver. But in the press, it says Angus MacGyver. So why change that?
Because it was on the air for 7 years and everybody knows Angus MacGyver.
Yeah.
It'll be hard
it's not
to
a
keep
secret
that
anymore.
secret.
Yeah. It's not a secret anymore. Yeah.
I was a big fan of the original growing up, and one of the things I loved as a kid, a lot of the things that he built, we were actually able to pull off. Some of them were actually feasible. Are you guys going to try and adopt a similar formula where some of the creations are...
The mandate from the beginning was everything we do is rooted in reality.
Wow.
That everything that he can do, you can do. Hopefully, without a
Doesn't
disclaimer...
mean you should do it.
Without a disclaimer, hopefully people don't do it.
Yeah.
But we're basing it in reality because I want it to feel very grounded. I don't want it to feel super...
Yeah.
I want it to feel like a very relatable, real hero. So yeah, all real.
But that's what makes the original so much fun. Is like, when you watch it, you go,
Right.
I can try and do that myself.
It was fascinating as
Yeah.
a kid watching it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, because it's within reach. It's not out of reach. It's not like he's Superman and he's flying off into the air.
In terms of the narrative of the series, are you guys going to have like a large arc for the series with like a main villain, or is it going to be more episodic?
Well, it's definitely episodic in terms of like missions every week, but
Right.
there are character arcs that are going to go over the course of the season.
Okay, great.
So there's and one is planted in the first episode that we're going to see evolve and layer out over the course of the first season. And when you see the pilot, you'll see it's involving one of the characters that's one of the team members on MacGyver's DXS team. But yeah, character arcs over the course of the season, but for the most part, stories will be they'll be contained with a beginning, middle, and end. And we're still going to do the structure of having the gambit open up the show, very similar to the original version.
The action teaser, right? That's always so much fun.
You talked about the choice of Lucas because it was a daunting choice to make, after Richard Dean Anderson. So what does it bring to the?
Yeah, when I was involved in this very, very early on, that was one of my hardest challenges to get around. How do you recast a MacGyver character that everyone associates with Richard Dean Anderson? He's synonymous to that character, right? And so it was hard. We looked through a lot of people. We looked through so many people, and when finally Lucas came in to read for us, I was like, this kid is so charismatic. He is shade of what the originals that Richard Dean Anderson had. And I'm like, but he's a different kind of guy. He's like today's version of that character, if that show was to be made today. And I think he's one of the biggest discoveries I think we did with the show. And so we're very lucky to have found Lucas for this.
Since we're Comic-Con,
I'm a massive fan of the show. I you know, I grew up with it. You know, I was the perfect age for the show. I think I was like, you know, in my, I was about like maybe 9, 10, or 11 when I first saw it, and it just sparked my imagination. The idea that here's a guy that could just make things out of nothing to get himself out of problems, out of situation that he's in. Basically, he is James Bond if James Bond never resorted to guns or weapons that kills other people. And I always kind of liked that he was different to what we were seeing on television. And I think especially in the age that we live in today, where there's so much violence in the world, it's really refreshing to do an action TV show or an action character that uses violence as the mean, as the last resort, and use his cerebral thinking to get himself out of these bad situations.
Since we're Comic-Con, I gotta ask you about Aquaman.
We gotta go. I'm sorry. Meeting's done. No.
Just give us a scoop. So, how does it fit into Suicide Squad? Because it's a different tone that Batman must be super.
I don't answer any question that talks about tone. No, only because I get asked that so much. Is that what your question is? What's your answer?
How does it fit into the universe?
I think it has to fit into the universe because it's part of DC and it's this huge world that that we're all creating together. But that doesn't mean that it is not its own movie. It has to be its own movie. I have to be able to make the movie that I want to make as well. But I also have to pay respect, right? To be respectful to the world that has kind of been created. It doesn't matter whether it's DC or Marvel. If you're coming in to play in their playground, you gotta respect that. But once I'm inside that sandbox, I will build my own sandcastle.
Good answer.
Yeah.
No information in the answer, but it's a good answer. Because I was waiting to hear also. I want to know. He hasn't even told me. And we're working together every day.
You have to read between the lines.
Yes, read between the lines.
Yeah, I've been trying, believe me.
Yes.
Looking over his shoulder.
Last question, and nothing Aquaman related.
Nothing Aquaman related.
Conjuring 3.
Here, I was pulling. Do you think the character on Saturday Night Live of MacGruber helped the character of MacGyver or hurt the character of MacGyver?
Peter, you're gonna go ahead. Great.
Here's what I think. Anytime you're spoofed by Saturday Night Live or Mad Magazine, you're a massive success.
Right.
So what MacGruber did was keep the torch lit.
Right.
Yes.
From the original show to today's incarnation.
Right.
It showed that there were people that actually thought enough of that show to spoof it, and there was enough of an audience out there to know that this is going to be the funny version of that.
Right.
The same way that Austin Powers was the funny version of James Bond.
Right.
It didn't hurt the James Bond franchise. I don't think it's going to hurt us. In fact, it was made by people who lovingly, followed that original show.
Yeah, totally agree.
I agree.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.